Coping with Tre Tailor, giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life. Because we'll always be coping with something. Coping.
Thank you again so much for joining us. I'm Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping. I'm your host, and we're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life because we will always be coping with something. Hey, today we're coping with taxes, but don't forget to join us. We are streaming live on the Tailor Made Production page on Facebook. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow. Find out when we go live Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council, and then on Thursday and Friday. We're also streaming live on our YouTube channel. Now, there you will find 3+ years of information, and also resources to help you cope. Please hit the subscribe button. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life because we will always be coping with something. Today, we're coping with your taxes. Kadenia Javis joins us. She's the proprietor and CFO of Javis Financial Services, where she is an advocate for tax literacy and dedicated to providing assistance to individuals and businesses with their tax concerns and questions. Hey, Kadenia, thank you again so much for joining us today. We appreciate you.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. First big question is, what is the tax deadline this year?
All right, so the tax deadline for the 2022 deadline, we get an extra 2 days again. So it's going to be that Monday, April 17th. So April 17th is that deadline.
All right, so it's Monday, April 17th.
Now, Trey, and also, you know, I don't know if you heard or not, but that because of Hurricane Ian, those that had an extension file for their 2021 also have an extension. So we are going to be swamped. We already know it. I told them, let's go and get the roller skates ready because we're going to be processing folks 2021 that filed an extension, but because of the Hurricane Ian that came, they didn't file in October. Our governor gave them an extra 4 months. So that's going to allow them until February of 2023. Well, it was a national disaster to actually file those 2021. And then we'll have folks file in 2022. So those are the two deadlines, major deadlines coming up.
So if you file an extension for 2021, you've got till February to complete that. And then for the current year's taxes, that's April 17th, correct?
Correct. And we're praying that we don't have another natural disaster.
Absolutely. What are any new rules and regulations for this tax filing period that we need to be aware of? It seems like every year there's something new.
Every year is something new. Every time Congress meets, we have something new. So because of inflation, we have, like, we say astronomical. $900 may not be a lot to some people, but $900 to $1,400 extra dollars have gone into the filing statuses. And I can email you that also to share with you. But where it was a single person had 12,000 of exemptions, now they have 13,000. Merit filing jointly was 25,700. This year it's going to be 27,400. So the government has tried to take into account some inflation to help taxpayers decrease their taxable liability. And anytime we talk about decreasing our taxable liability, we're like, that's where we want Congress and our politicians that we vote for. Those are the things that we're looking for them to do, especially for our working class.
Right. So is there anything tax filers need to do for that?
No, they don't have to do anything. That they don't have to do anything for. That is just the standard deductions for all of the filing statuses. Your residential energy credits are still there. Our child tax credits are still there. No major implications of anything outside of, because we were in the pandemic. I will say this, where we had to reconcile stimuluses and rebates in the past. President Biden did not issue any government stimuluses or rebates in 2021. So therefore there will be no, 2022. So we don't have to worry about waiting on those notices. There was no additional child tax credits. If prior to, if you had children under 17, you received 250 from the month of July to December of the prior year. So we had to wait on those notices. So in 2022, the only additional rebates that we did receive here in South Carolina is up to $800 that Governor McMaster implemented. And so those rebates went out starting in July of 2022 for folks that did file on time by the April deadline. Now, those folks that waited to the October deadline to file, they will not see those rebates if they are eligible until March of 2023, because we're getting a lot of phone calls. I did not get my rebate. And one of the main reasons, first things we ask, when did you file? And they'd say, we filed in October. Well, that is one of the reasons why you haven't seen that rebate, if you're even eligible, because you waited until the tax deadline of October. And again, because of the catastrophic situation of Hurricane Ian, some states were declared national disaster. So the government said, hey, well, we'll give you until February of 2023 to file. So we have a lot of dates. And we have seen since the pandemic, folks are not filing their current year taxes because they had buffers. When I say buffers, we had state unemployment, we had what they call the paycheck protection, we had economic injury disaster loans. So those extra monies assisted taxpayers. So they're like scared to file their taxes, thinking that they owe, and they very well may have to owe, but you have to face it. So thank God that the statute of limitation is 3 years to file your tax return. So what we noticed in 2022, a lot of folks were filing their 2020 and their 2021. So we're projecting that they're going to be filing their 2021 and their 2022s together. Prayer for help offset if they owe 1 year, and then maybe have a refund the next year because they did not receive unemployment monies like we did in 2020. Then that would help reduce their taxable liability, and maybe that it will cause an break even situation. Or if I owe 1 year but I'm getting a refund from 1 year, then they'll utilize those funds to help assist in paying that tax bill.
Right. Katina Williams Javis joins us. She's the proprietor and CFO of Javis Financial Services. It's a part of our series, Coping with Me in 2023. Today, we are coping with your taxes. Now, Kadenia, two things I want to piggyback on. You mentioned the rebate. So, is everybody qualified for a rebate? And if not, who is?
Okay, so no, everybody is not qualified for the rebate from the state of South Carolina. If your line 15 has 0 on it, then you probably do not qualify. That's line 15 of your South Carolina 1040. Now, let me give you an example. If you owed the state of South Carolina $1,400, then the maximum you would get back is $800. Some people are saying, well, hey, I got $1,400 on my line 15, but you do not get the whole $1,400 back. There was a cap, and it was $800. Now, that's one example. Second example, the cap was $800. So the second example, they left out the little, how they say the small print. You didn't read the small print. That small print said up to $800. So if your taxable liability to the state of South Carolina was $667, then you're only going to get $667. You will not get $800 because that's not what you pay in. So you get in what you get back what you paid in, but up to that cap of $800. So if it was less than that, I had some people that got a check for $13. They came out of the office like, this is all I got. I was like, but be thankful, because that means that there's tax strategies that we put in place for you, reduced your taxable liability, and you didn't have to pay the state. You didn't give them anything. They don't owe you, so you did pay them $13, and they gave you your $13 back. And so
and now,
for those of us that did not receive anything, I just want to say, so that means your taxable liability was zero. You didn't pay the state, so the state don't owe you.
Right. Okay. So, of those people who are qualified for a rebate, but also hasn't filed yet, again, you said earlier, folks have until February to file from year before last,
2021.
2021. So,
21.
when they do file, will they still be eligible to get it since they file late?
Yes, they'll be eligible. They just gonna get it later.
Yeah,
There's no
they'll get it
like
later.
you have 3 years. The statute, yes, the statute is 3 years. So you have 3 years. So you have some people who don't compile and do process their taxes for 2 or 3 years, depending on they have their own personal reasons. And that was just like with our stimuluses trade. There was a $600 one, a $1,200, and a $1,400. Well, some of those people that do not file but file late end up getting the stimuluses later because they filed later. And it's not because I didn't file, you won't get it at all. As long as you file within the parameters of the statute of limitations. So we got stimuluses in 20 and 21. So December of 2023, you won't be able to go back and file your 2020, that first round of stimulus that we got during the pandemic. That first round from the President Trump administration, that $600, you won't be able to file it if you do not file your tax returns by December of 2023. So just know that if you have not filed December this year, you forfeit that money and you give it back to Uncle Sam. So you give him a nice tip.
Yeah. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about the fact that COVID produced a lot of new businesses. A lot of people started businesses on their own. Entrepreneurship went up. So let's talk a little bit. And this may be the first or second time people are really filing business taxes or have a business to file taxes. Can we talk a little bit about when you should file business tax or how much money you need to make to file your business taxes?
Yes. So you are so correct. A lot of businesses were birthed out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were accepting electronic payments via Cash App, via PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, etc.
Yeah.
So the government saw that, heard about it, and so now they have mandated those merchants, if an taxpayer has, it used to be so many transactions, like 200 transactions, they consider it a business because they know that people use those methods to send their children money. They use those methods to maybe send their parents money, whatever. So you don't want to be taxed on, nominal income that you're sending someone, $25. But if you had it 200 transactions, then they would send you what they call a 1099K. K as in Kathy. So it is a merchant statement that is reported to the IRS. You need to log into those portals to ensure that you are not being issued, because something that we saw increase were audits because people had unreported income because they did not realize that, say, hey, they may be at Soda City. Soda City is, here in Columbia on the weekends from 9 to 1 selling their craft goods, and they're accepting using their Square machines. Well, that Square machine is tracking that income, and then they're mandated. They have to send that report to the IRS, and so the IRS, that's income for you. And because you're self-employed, you producing a product or a service, then you need to file that. So a lot of people are very uneducated on what is self-employment. What does it really mean? What some people are like, hey, I'm crocheting hats, I'm selling them, this is how they pay me. That's understood. And like I tell them, that's good, and that you have a gift and a craft to make the income. But the government has written codes and laws for us also to expense, because you have to buy the supplies to make the good that you're selling. You have to. So you have a vehicle that you get in. You have to drive to vendor events. You have to maintenance and put gas in your cars. So just as well, if you $50,000 in income off of Cash App or whatever, and receive that 1099K, then you need to have a knowledgeable, educated, degreed accountant or somebody that knows tax laws. And I'll tell you, data entry operators are not tax experts. And I'm not saying I'm a tax expert, but what I am a licensed and degreed accountant. So tax law is my baby, and I read it
Yeah.
to keep the community educated on, hey, Congress done wrote this law for us. We need to utilize it. The tax code is definitely for the self-employed and business owner. I am, 27 years in this game, and the tax code is written for business owners. So if you have a business, you need to be expensing there's so many deductions that are eligible and legal by law that a lot of people don't know. Some people may get that 1099K and be like, oh, this is income, I gotta file it, and they just file it. They don't file any expenses against it. So then that creates a big tax liability bill of
Right.
15.3% of that income. And so some people, if once they get started with those, big numbers owing, then they get scared. They don't file the next year.
Yeah.
Then they come in. We notice we need to do an amendment because this is not right. But if 3 years have gone by and you've ignored it, then sometimes it's too late. So that's why we try to continuously educate. We're one of Columbia's very, in this niche of community, not all accountants stay open year round, but we're open year round for the simple fact to help our community, because most of the time those letters don't start coming out to June or July once the IRS reconciles their records and say, hey, you did a tax return, say you made 20, we got income saying you had 50, there's a $30,000 increase, where's the money? And most of the time, I'm a prior IRS employee, when they don't come back for 1 year. Most of the time they come back for 30. That taxpayers are scared of, oh my gosh, they're auditing me for the past 3 years. So that's why it's another good thing to have great record keeping. Anybody who's doing business, you gotta have 2 checking accounts. You got to have, it is a must. If you only have 1 checking account, you will not get credit for nothing, zero, because they're looking at you commingling your funds. You're using the same account for your business as your personal, and you can't separate it. So you gotta have 2 checking accounts. Some people say, well, I can't afford to have a business checking account. And I do understand that most banks do charge business checking accounts if you don't, have $5,000-$10,000 in there. So then that's when we tell, hey, it doesn't have to be labeled as a business checking account, but you gotta have 2. Uno, dos, you gotta have 2.
Yeah.
So you gotta have 2.
All right.
So
Kadenia,
some will say, well, how do I pay myself? Okay. Yes.
No, go ahead. You finish that point. Go ahead.
A lot of business owners want to say, well, it's my money. So why there's tax laws that you have to abide by. And yes, it is your money. So if it's in account 2, just transfer it to account 1, to your personal account. Don't go get your manis and your petties out of the business account, because that is not an ordinary or necessary expense to run your business.
Yeah. So many things that you said that I want to piggyback on. First of all, okay, so you say that 1099K, you've got to request it from Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, whatever.
Right, because there are a lot, not even just those, even your banks, Bank of America, the Wells Fargo, the big banks, they have gone green. A lot of people they're just trimming the fat off of their budgets. Is the thing of the past. Everything now is electronic. So everybody mostly has customer portals. And so people who are not computer savvy may not know that or don't know how to access it. We've even went so far as to creating Gmail email accounts for some of our clients so that we can help them get into this electronic mode that we're going into. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. Even your brokerage accounts, Merrill Lynch, the Bitcoin industry is big. They are not mailing statements. They are emailing, sending notifications. And if you don't know to look for it or know that that's how they're going to be sending that information, then when it's time for you to get your taxes prepared, you think that the only thing you should have is what you received in the mail. And that's not true, because a lot of banks, even your mortgage companies, Trey, or sending out your 1099 mortgage interest statements via email. So we have computers in our office. If anybody don't have a computer at home, we'll help them log in. Like I say, we even help clients, especially our older clientele that don't do email. We've helped them create Gmail accounts so that they can start getting that information. Because as well, I want to throw in insurance, the marketplace, the Obamacare. They have a form that if you file taxes and you receiving a subsidy from the government, they send out and issue something called a 1095A. That is something else that will either reject your tax return or it won't get processed if it's not in the tax return. And those forms, they email them out. So we've had to go on and help clients get those 1095As for their health insurance from the marketplace.
Kadenia Javis joins us. We are talking about taxes, coping with me, all about me, coping with me in 2023. And we've been talking about business taxes. As we said, many people launched businesses during the pandemic. This may be the first or second time that you are having to file business taxes. If you just joined us, please hit the rewind button because Kadenia really shared some great information about what you need to do as far as maintaining your business monies and filing your taxes. Let's talk a little bit about, and you mentioned this briefly, Kadenia, business expenses. You said a mani and a pedi is not a business expense. What would be considered a business expense that you need to pay for out of your business account that you can then I guess report?
Substantiate.
Substantiate and report so that you can, because of your tax liability, so that you can deduct that.
All right. So the easiest way I've learned to explain this, whatever makes you money. Okay. I'm an accountant. What makes me money is my computer, my paper, my pens, my calculator. You know what I'm saying? Those are things that make me my money in my industry. So it's individual. It depends on what makes you your money in your industry. My car detailer guy, what makes him money would be his armor all, his water, buckets and sponges. So anything that makes you your money for your occupation is what the IRS calls ordinary and necessary for your NAICS code. And the NAICS code, stands for but it's what makes you your money for your industry. And a lot of people also, Trey, they may have a full-time job, but they may have some subcontract or some contracting work that they do on the side. And so that income is where they have their own business. And they need to know that is where they file a Schedule C along with their 1040 personal return. And that Schedule C is going to capture the profits and the losses. And the losses are no more than your expenses. Okay. And you can't leave out if you have to travel, because that's where you are able to depreciate the vehicle that you're driving, putting miles, wear and tear on your vehicle.
Right.
So they have apps out there. Miles IQ is an app that it tracks you with your phone. Those smartphones track us, right?
Yes,
so you can either keep up with the mileage if you choose to, if you do a lot of traveling. If you don't do a lot of traveling, I don't recommend keeping up with the mileage. I recommend let's just take the standard deduction of depreciation for the vehicle that you're driving or vehicles.
Right. Kadenia Javis joins us today. She is an advocate for tax literacy and is dedicated to providing assistance to individuals and businesses with their tax concerns and questions. She has been educating us today about the taxes. And when we come back, we're going to talk to her and wrap up the conversation and find out what we need to do now to get ready for next year. That's coming up next on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. We'll be right back.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday life, but when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall, 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821. 851-5821.
Hi, I'm Judy Gatson. As a news anchor, wife, and mom, I know how important it is to take care of our health. Part of taking care of our health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is a serious health condition and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. It's estimated that more than 1.3 million South Carolinians have it, and up to 90% have no idea. Take a moment to visit inittogethersc.org to take an online test to find out your risk of prediabetes and how to join a diabetes prevention program that takes the guesswork out of losing weight, eating better, and being more active. You can learn new ways to stay healthy and sustain those changes over time. When you join, you'll even get support from a trained lifestyle coach to help you set and achieve realistic goals. Go to inittogethersc.org, brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina.
Thank you again so much for joining us for Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we will always be coping with something. Hey, don't forget that we are streaming live on the Tailor Made Production page on Facebook. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow, and find out when we go live on Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council, and then again on Thursday and Friday. We're also streaming live on our YouTube channel. Please go over there and hit the subscribe button. There you will find 3+ years of information, interviews, and also resources to help you cope. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Today, we are coping with me in 2023. It's part of our series to get you ready for the new year. And one of the big things about the new year is the old year, and that is taxes. Kadenia Javis joins us. She's proprietor and CFO of Javis Financial Services. And if you just joined us, please hit the rewind button. She's been giving us some major gems, some great information that we need to know about filing your taxes, especially if you have a business, deadlines, the new rules, and those rebates. I want to wrap up the conversation, Kadenia, asking you, what do we need to do now to get ready for next year's taxes? Because yes, it's January, but it's going to be January again just before we know it. And we need to know now what we need to do every single month so that maybe we're not in a bind, or maybe we're not trying to scramble for all these different pieces of paper and things that we need for the previous year. So what do we need to do now?
Well, now you need to assess where you've been. If you don't have a bookkeeper and you have not been doing bookkeeping, that may be something that you want to look at in the 2023 year, especially if your business is very lucrative. And also, trade warning taxpayers with those businesses. A lot of them have been lucrative, and they made, substantial amounts that they never envisioned they would make. I want them to look at starting to pay their taxes quarterly, every 3 months. If they come in for a tax planning session with whoever their accounting is, they need to look at maybe paying taxes in quarterly, because that also reduces their taxable liability. Because again, self-employment taxes is 15.3%. If you pay quarterly, Uncle Sam allows you to pay at a much cheaper rate, almost as if you were an employee, of like 6.2%. It's almost a third less. Yes. And so that really gives a great buffer, so that person, when they do get those 1099Ks, because they may get them from multiple vendors, they may get them from multiple vendors. They may be doing some consulting, and those people want W-9s before they issue payments. And so definitely sitting down, strategizing, hey, I need to pay in maybe $2,000 a quarter. It just depends. And I promise you will thank the accountant come the following year when it's time to, when that number, whether your computer screen shows in the red or whether it shows in the black. And if you're in the black and you're getting a refund, it's always a much better feeling than, whew, wow, then I have to strike a check for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 because you made all this extra taxable income that you did not realize what the tax ramifications were going. Because it's hard to project 12 years out when you're freelancing. When you're freelancing, it's kind of hard to project. Or it's just it's just so much better if you pay in something quarterly. And we can assist you with those, 1040 ES tax coupons to mail in. And that I promise you, you would definitely thank that person. And also, Trey, self-employed people. One of the most misconceptions: I can't leave my job because I don't have benefits or insurance. Well, in 2010, President Obama's administration changed that as far as insurance, because now we have the Affordable Care Act. And as far as retirement planning, you can purchase your own retirement 401ks, IRAs, 457Bs, 403Bs. There are so many ways. So the same way that you had your fiduciary, which is your job, taking your money out of your check, putting into an account for you, you can do that yourself. If you don't have the discipline, that's why they have auto drafts. You can auto draft and set aside those monies. They just increased it. It was 19,000. Now you can put up 22,500 in your own. It's called a SEP, which is a self-employed pension. If you want an IRA account, if you're younger than 50, you can put in 6,000. If you're 50 and above, you can put up to 7,000. You can diversify your own portfolio. And so that is kind of like where I'm at now with my career with business owners on tax planning, tax strategy. What's your exit strategy? Because what we don't want is you at 65 or 70 and having to work to make ends meet, because you made the money in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and you didn't save any of it. We cannot depend on Social Security. Sometimes we hear it's not going to be there. Sometimes we say that's a lie. That's not true. But hey, who knows? We didn't know we had a pandemic that was going to shut down the world either, did we?
That's right. That's right.
So just planning for your future is also something major if you decide to be self-employed 100%. A lot of us, are still continuing with our jobs as well as, and there's always room for multiple streams of income, always room. So if you see that opportunity, yes, go get it. But let's at least put up 20% for taxes, because that is untaxable money if you're self-employed.
And like you said, and don't be afraid or intimidated by trying to connect all the dots, because there are people like you that do that. Tell us about some of the services that you do offer for personally and professionally, for businesses and for individuals.
So we do personal and business taxes, corporate taxes. We also do nonprofit taxes. A lot of people have taken their businesses and switched it to the nonprofit side. And if that's a mission that you can do and you get approved as a 503 from the federal government, by all means, go ahead and, do the application. We do bookkeeping, we do accounting, we do payroll. We are notaries as well. We are a licensed insurance agency. So we kind of have an umbrella of services as a one-stop shop. And I also like to tell my business owners, you need to have a bail team. All of us played Monopoly. When you went to jail, you needed the bail bondsman. So in business and in our personal lives, you need a banker, you need an accountant, you need an insurance agent, and you need a lawyer to help navigate just things in life, and especially if you are if you're self-employed and you're a proprietor and have your own business.
Yeah. Kadenia Javis has been with us, and she is the proprietor and CFO of Javis Financial Services. They believe in educating the community about tax liability, and she's an advocate for tax literacy. She's dedicated to providing assistance to individuals and businesses with their tax concerns and questions.
And Trey, just being in compliance also for your listeners. Some people, it just starts with the conversation. And we have some folks out there, I know, that have lucrative businesses that they're getting paid for, and they don't even have a tax ID number. They don't have a business checking account. And I would hate to see, for them to be non-compliant and then their businesses shut down for being non-compliant.
Yeah.
Maybe, a bookkeeping fee, because at the end of the day, no matter what you spend on accounting fees, all of that is ordinary and necessary for your business. So that is a tax deduction as well.
And Kadenia and her team at Javis Financial Services can help you with just that. Thank you so much for joining us today. You have been so very helpful, giving us so much great information. Like I said, on the business tip, on the personal tip, individual and personal taxes. So please, you can see the information on the screen. Contact Kadenia Javis with Javis Financial Services. She's proprietor and CFO. And don't forget, they believe in educating the community about tax liability, and they are advocates. Kadenia is for tax literacy. Thank you, Kadenia, so much for joining us today. I appreciate you. Beautiful.
Thank you, Sunshine. I appreciate, always enjoy coming on the show. Coping with Tre Tailor. We love it. I love your
Thank
tagline.
you. I
Coping with
appreciate
me
it.
in 2023. That is
Coping
so
with me.
awesome.
All right.
That
So
is-
listen, if you have a story or initiative that can help someone cope, please email booking@copingwithtreTailor.com. Booking@copingwithtreTailor.com. We would love to feature your story or initiative. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope, please email copingwithtreTailor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor, just like Javis Financial Services was a past sponsor, and we appreciate them so very much. In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council. Also, the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office, Attorney Byron Gibson, Palmetto Media Connections, Agape Counseling and Training Services, Black Pages, Black Expo, the Comet Bus Systems, and Computers Unique Dutch Square Mall. When we come right back, more, and also our devotional. That's next on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday life, but when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
As always, we leave you with a great devotional. I'm reading back again from Jesus Calling. This says, when things seem to be going all wrong, stop and affirm your trust in me. Calmly bring these matters to me and leave them in my capable hands. Leave them there. Then simply do the next thing. Stay in touch with me through thankful, trusting prayers, resting in my sovereign control. Rejoice in me. Exult in the God of your salvation. As you trust in me, I make your feet like the feet of a deer. I enable you to walk, to make progress upon your high places of trouble, suffering, or responsibility. When things are going wrong, remember what is right. Jesus, he can do it for you. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for Coping with Tre Tailor. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Take care. Stay well. God bless. And if you're going to be out and about with large crowds, especially inside, don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. I'll see you soon.
Coping, find peace of mind to survive through whatever. Coping, learning the way that we thrive all together. Coping, finding out what's real. Coping, we can heal, we can heal, we can heal. Coping with stress, coping with strife, bringing hope for success, for improving our life. Coping beyond hoping to do more than survive, ways to live a healthy life. Coping and promoting learning what you can do, 6 ways to a better you.